here at St. Pius, a very special place in the neighborhood of Pilsen, located in the city of Chicago, the state of Illinois, and the United States of America. And we're here for a cause. We understand that in our country, there are a lot of hard-working people who do some of the hardest jobs in our society. And they do those jobs well. And they work 40 hours a week. And I know there's a principle as old as the Bible, that if you work 40 hours a week and do things right, you shouldn't have to live in poverty. That's a fundamental principle we all believe in. We want to do something about it. I was right here right before Christmas, and we announced that this year, 2014, all across Illinois and frankly all across America, we're going to have a grassroots campaign of everyday people, people who work hard, to make sure that we raise the minimum wage, that we give people in Illinois who are making the minimum wage more money so they can spend that money to help their families. That's one of the very best ways to help our economy, to make sure that we raise the minimum wage in Illinois from $8.25 to over $10. We think that's the right thing to do. And as Dr. Martin Luther King once said, it's always the right time to do the right thing. And that's why we're here. And we know how to organize, because in coming over here, I drove on Cesar Chavez Street. Cesar Chavez was here 40 years ago. I got, not far from here, I got to shake Cesar Chavez's hand. And he said, not only si puede that day, but he said, juntos podemos. Together we can. And that's what this movement is all about. The effort to raise the minimum wage in our state of Illinois has got to be an effort where we all participate. All of us band together in the best traditions of American democracy. We know that folks who make the minimum wage, if they get a raise, they're not going to admire that money in the bank vault. They're going to spend that money in their local communities, creating other jobs. Our Federal Reserve Bank here in Chicago said for every dollar raised in the minimum wage, $2,800 are spent in the community, creating other jobs. 70% of our economy are consumers and their demand. And we've got to help those hardworking men and women. Over 1 million people in Illinois will benefit from raising the minimum wage. 60% or more of those folks are women who are doing some very hard jobs and raising their family. They're heads of households. It's time to do the right thing. And we listened last year to the Man of the Year from Time Magazine, Pope Francis. He said we can't have an economy of exclusion. We have to have an economy of inclusion, an economy that has human purpose. That's why this movement to raise the Illinois minimum wage and to raise the minimum wage across America, we've got to band together and do it together. We know how to organize. Early to bed, early to rise. Work like hell and organize. That's what we're all about, right? We have some folks here today that are going to speak out about this important policy issue. I went to the White House a couple of weeks ago. Our president, he's committed. He understands it's time to give America a raise. He's got to do it, and we got to help him do it. Sheen, come on forward. We're going to hear from you.
One of my prized possessions is one of the pens that the governor used to sign with, and I definitely law. And I read it with the bill itself. So I'm very proud of that. And I'm proud to be here today and stand with the governor and all these good people on this issue. Now, I've been an actor all my life, but that's what I do for a living. But activism is what I do to stay alive. And this is a reflection of my activism. He's mentioned that this is far less a political issue than a moral one. And I can't help but reflect on a very special event that happened 1 year ago this day that affects all of us, particularly the people in this community. And that is that Pope Francis was elected 1 year ago this day. He set a very clear tone for not just our church, but for the world, for consciousness. And that is to join together to make changes, because it's the only way we can do it. And that's how we save ourselves, is by serving each other. And so we give thanks and praise for his presence.
This good man, as I mentioned, is one of my heroes, and he's always in the good fight, and it shows. He's covered with scars. And we are in a very long and arduous fight. It's not going to be an easy thing, although you think that, you know, who could argue about $10 an hour? For heaven's sake, a 5-day work week, that's $400 a week before taxes. So, you know, the people that oppose it should try to live on that in today's market. We know it's not possible. So, just to give a word of encouragement about being in tough fights that are worthwhile. The Irish tell a story of a man who arrives at the gates of heaven and asks to be let in. And St. Peter says, of course, just show us your scars. The man says, I have no scars. St. Peter says, what a pity. Was there nothing worth fighting for?
Thank Martin for coming and for all the scars that you have, Martin, in the battle ahead. You know, it's important to remember, one of the battles we have is to make sure our immigrants are treated fairly. And last night we had a really great event at Symphony Hall, put out by Old St. Patrick's Church, and Martin was the narrator. And I think folks should realize that his mom came from Ireland, right? His dad came from Spain. And where did they meet? At citizenship class in Dayton, Ohio. And so it's important to remember that all of us came from somewhere. And a lot of our immigrants who come here, they oftentimes get a very low wage for a long, hard job. And that's why we've got to remember those fundamental principles. I want to salute all the groups that are here. Citizen Action Illinois, thank you. And Wright Park Neighborhood Council, Lutheran Advocacy in Illinois. We have Arise with us. We want to make sure that we salute the Illinois Hunger Coalition. They understand if you want to fight hunger, you got to pay a decent wage. The Restaurant Opportunity Center, thank you for joining us. The Sergeant Shriver Center for Poverty Law. Sergeant Shriver was a great leader in the movement to take on poverty, alleviate poverty. The Chicago Jobs Council is with us in Action Now. We heard from them, the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. SEIU, healthcare unit of SEIU, a great union indeed. Heartland Alliance has been fighting poverty as long as I can remember. Raise Illinois is part of the movement to raise the minimum wage. COFI, United Food Commercial Workers Local 881, thank you for joining us. The Fight for 15 is with us as well. A Resurrection Project, that's Father Brendan Curran is with us. And Resurrection Project, we understand you're in the redemption business, right, Father? And we want to make sure we help people get to heaven, and we'll raise the minimum wage.